Call question number 1, Annie Wells.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. To ask the Scottish Government what action it is taking to address the housing emergency in Glasgow.
Minister Paul McLennan.
Glasgow housing conveners say their biggest pressure is increasing numbers of newly recognised refugee households driven by Home Office mismanagement of the asylum process. With no additional support from Westminster, we have provided over £121 million to Glasgow to fund homelessness services and increase the supply of social and affordable homes. Homelessness pressures have been exacerbated to the UK Government's freeze of local housing allowance. I have today written to the Secretary of State ahead of the UK budget to urge implementation of the LHA uplift in years beyond 24-25. I hope the member will help with these calls on our colleagues at Westminster.
Annie Wells.
I thank the Minister for that answer. Homelessness is spiralling out of control in Glasgow, and it should never have reached a point whereby Glasgow City Council had to declare a housing emergency. And unfortunately, the work around Sighthill and the Red Road in the north of the city is moving at a snail's pace, with only a fraction of the demolished homes being replaced with new builds. And at the same time, we were faced with the Scottish Government, which has cut £200 million from the housing budget. Therefore, I ask the Minister, what action is his government taking right now to increase the supply of affordable homes in Glasgow so that no one is left in the street?
Minister.
I thank the member for her question. I obviously mentioned around about the £121 million we've funded Glasgow with through homelessness services and increased the supply of social and affordable homes. There's a number of things I think that I want to mention in terms of that. The capital budget cut that we've had from our government, it equates to 10% in regards to that. There's a few other things. You'll be aware of the homelessness monitor that was just come out from crisis. And one of the biggest issues they talked about, the increase in homelessness, was through the LHA rate. And again, I'll refer her back to the letter I've just written today, and hopefully she can support that request in terms of that. We also have the asylum process, dispersal process. Now, it's good that the asylum process has been quickened up, but there's no additional funding coming from the UK Government on that at all. None whatsoever. So there are a couple of asks I would have of Annie Wells on that. Restore the capital budget cut. LHA uplift has to come back, and the asylum process, there has to be funding that follows that. I've also met with the housing associations on a number of occasions, and through the Cities Alliance, which Glasgow is part of, are looking to bring forward some of the developments they have and working with them in terms to bring that forward as quick as we possibly can.
Thank you. A couple of supplementaries. First, Jackie Dunbar.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. The Scottish Government must adopt a range of approaches to address the housing pressures, not just in Glasgow but right across Scotland. And part of this approach, I feel, should be to ensure that existing housing stock is being used effectively. Can the Minister update Parliament on where he is on the work to ensure that long-term empty homes are brought back into use? Because I feel that it would go some way to address the current situation.
Minister.
Can I thank the member for her question? Our investment of £396,500 in 23-24 continues support for the Scottish Empty Homes Partnership, which has worked closely with local authorities, including Glasgow, to bring back more than 9,000 homes back into use since 2010. The role of the partnership was recognised by an independent audit into the effectiveness of interventions to bring empty homes back into use that we commissioned and published last year. We have already acted on some of the audit recommendations, such as working with local authorities to improve statistics about empty homes and providing powers granting a grace period from council tax premiums for new owners of long-term empty homes. My letter of 19 September 2023 to the Local Government Housing and Planning Committee set out a range of other activities we are doing to bring back more houses into use.
Thank you. And Mark Griffin.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. The Scottish Federation of Housing Associations released YouGov polling which showed that 80% of people believe we are in the grips of a housing emergency. A number of authorities have declared an emergency, and there are more to follow. Now, can I ask the Minister, why is the Government so reluctant to acknowledge what everyone else seems to see, that we are in a housing emergency, fully accepting that some of the factors, as he said in his response to Annie Wells, are out with his control? But why not declare that emergency and get everyone round the table to start addressing it?
Minister.
Yeah, I acknowledge that we're in a difficult position at the moment. That's the same position as it is in the UK Government and with the Welsh Government. In terms of, I think in terms of the most important things are the actions that we undertake. As Annie Wells talked about Glasgow, I meet with local authorities on a regular basis, and we talk about actions we need to take. Now, I think one of the key things that I would ask Mark Griffin, if there's an incoming Labour Government, again, is looking at restoring the capital budget cut. And we've already asked, and I think I've mentioned in the chamber here, about the LHA uplift rate. And again, that's something I hope that he can take back to an incoming Labour Government. On that, we are working very hard. We still provide £556 billion in the draft budget so far. Now, we are trying to look at how we work closely with Glasgow, Edinburgh and other local authorities in terms of that. But the actions are the most important part that we undertake. And as I said, I'll continue to work as hard as I can to make sure we build houses as quickly as we possibly can.